Hi guys, this is Bucky Jackrabbit and welcome to one of my first voiced video on my channel. And with this occasion I want to talk about the Doom Custom PlayStation Edition, ported and published by Williams Entertainment in collaboration with id Software. I've finished playing it recently and wanted to have a challenge by using pistol starts, and through my 100-hour plus playtime I gathered a few thoughts about it. If you'd like to watch my playthrough, it's linked in the description down below. The back of the box quotes John Romero as the best Doom yet. Sounds funny, but all previous releases on consoles were severely cut down in content, so this version, featuring almost 60 levels alongside the new high-end graphical and audio additions, did make it stand out as the best of the console versions. This got released on November 16, 1995 in the US, with subsequent re-releases up until October 13, 2000. This was an early PlayStation 1 game and considered a commercial success, getting a greatest hits version for selling over 150,000 units. The version I'm reviewing is the greatest hits release with the green label cover, otherwise known as version 1.1. Greatest hits or platinum releases would have a chance to get some glitches or bug fixes or various changes to the original release before the days of online patches to console games. I'm unaware what changes were made between the original and the 1.1 release, because this version still has a few bugs that can affect a 100% achievement. Despite just being named Doom, this version is an amalgamation of the Ultimate Doom, Doom 2, the modified base levels of Doom 1 being taken from the Jaguar port of Doom. The content on offer here comprises of 59 maps total, of which 5 are secret levels. This version does not contain all of the maps of the PC Doom games, with a few being left out for possible technical reasons, and most of the levels being cut down considerably in some sections, while some are left surprisingly intact. The missing levels are: from the Ultimate Doom we have E3M1 Hellkeep, E3M2 Slaw of Despair, E3M8 This, E3M9 The Warrens, and I have to mention that all of these levels were present in the Super Nintendo version of Doom, so I don't think that hardware limitations was the reason for their absence. From Thy Flesh Consumed we have E4M5 They'll Repent, E4M6 Against Thee Wickedly, E4M9 Fear, and from Doom 2 we have map 13 Downtown, which is one of my favorite maps. Yes, my favorite. I like it because it's open-ended. Map 15 Industrial Zone, map 20 Gotcha, map 24 The Chasm, map 28 The Spirit World, map 29 The Living End, map 30 Icon of Sin, and 2 secret levels from Wolfenstein, map 31 Wolfenstein and map 32 Grosse. The exclusive levels are map 16 Hellgate from Jaguar Doom, map 17 Hell's Keep from Jaguar Doom, different map from the Inferno PC version, map 29 Twilight Descends, which has an exit to the marshes, map 57 The Marshes, secret level, entrance from Twilight Descends, map 30 Threshold of Pain, which works as this version's final level of Ultimate Doom, map 54 Redemption Denied, which is the final level of PlayStation Doom, where you fight a pack of barons and 2 spider masterminds, map 58 The Mansion, which is a secret level with an entrance from the suburbs, and map 59 Club Doom, which is the super secret level entrance from the mansion. The graphics from PC Doom remain mostly intact in this custom version, with an overall slightly lower pixel density. DuckStation identifies the internal resolution as 256 by 240 compared to 320 by 200 in the original PC version. The bilinear interpolation of the PlayStation with the dithering adds a bit more color depth, and if played on a CRT as intended back in the day, the presentation is pleasant overall. technically it works as a decent benchmark for what the console was capable of, since most PC games at the time solely featured a 8 to 16-bit color depth, so no color lighting, and very few did transparency effects. The added lighting effects combined with the grittier textures rendered with the crunchy nature of the PlayStation hardware does create a harsher atmosphere, although at times they can be a bit ugly. With the way PS1 handles rendering, you do notice some visual glitches with enemies and sometimes items where their sprite gets visually cut when they move from grid to grid in the game's internal logic. The problem is that when this happens, the hitbox for enemies can sometimes not register when shot, making you lose ammo. Not an issue if you play normally since you carry over your ammo from previous levels, but on pistol stats every shot missed kinda hurts, especially in the early game. Among new effects are also some new animated textures for floors and walls, as well as a very cool looking fiery animated skybox in the Inferno levels. The looks of this version are alright, but the performance is all over the place. The developers tout super fast speed capped at 30 FPS, but it mostly hovers between 15 and 20 and can go as low as 10 FPS. The PC original had a 35 FPS cap, and depending on your PC, it stayed reliably at this, or it could chug as well in the more densely packed sequences, but not to unplayable levels. On PC, there were a few ways to improve performance, like a low detail mode and scaling the game window down, which helped keep the frame rate up if needed. By late 1995, by the time the PlayStation version came out, most people had at least a Pentium 1, which was out since mid 1993, or a late Gen 486 DX4 that ran the game smoother on home computers. The oscillating performance of PlayStation Doom is a problem on ultra violence because of input lag. It feels like leaping in a pool that's filled up to your waist. Short spots of low performance between high performance can throw you off, make you lose shots, fall off cliffs, or get hit by enemies. There's also a weird way that the engine handles friction with the walls, making you stick to them, which makes movement very janky. Compared to the SNES Jaguar, 32X, Saturn, and especially the 3DO, yeah, this version was blazingly fast, but that isn't saying much. The sound design has seen the biggest change with new bassy and punchier sound effects. Environmental, weapon pickups, weapon sounds, gunfire, enemies, and music all got changed. I can't say that any of the changes are outright bad, in fact some are improvements, and a lot of these got reused in Doom 64. The charming MIDI rock, metal, and moody songs by Bobby Prince got replaced with CD Redbook audio tracks comprising of orchestral rock for menus and moody dark electronic ambience for the game to create a more evil, foreboding atmosphere. Aubrey Hodges was the composer of 24 of the tracks, with one song for the secret level of Club Doom made by Danny Lewis, and the 24 tracks get repeated over multiple levels. I'm of two opinions when it comes to the soundtrack. The production value for the soundtrack is undeniably great, with the main menu theme title being quite badass and thundering. The demo song is also quite awesome, but the rest of the songs, while good mood pieces, are kinda forgettable. The only notable one would have to be Breath of Horror that first appears in Deimos Anomaly that I remember because of the demon chant part that sounds like demon sailors getting pissed drunk in a bar and singing together. And of course there's the Club Doom song, which stands out for the wrong reasons. I just don't like the overcharged audio assault that is Ridge Racer type electro, and I only remember it because of the Club Doom level. When it comes to gameplay, PlayStation Doom doesn't introduce any major changes compared to the PC original. You know the deal, you spawn in a level, there are enemies, you kill enemies that present a danger to you, you collect better weapons and power-ups to clear levels faster, get to the end. For variation, you get a simple switch puzzle here and there and or have to do some key collecting to progress through the level. There is no PlayStation mouse support that was only added in Final Doom. So control-wise, you are left with the original D-pad controls that mimic the layout of Super Nintendo Doom, with shoulder buttons for strafing and added buttons for scrolling through weapons up and down with the lower shoulder buttons. I don't understand why the start button only pauses the game, requiring you to press the select button afterwards just to access the main menu, but at least you can remap the rest of the buttons to your preference. The auto aim in PlayStation Doom is a bit inconsistent because of the glitchy hitboxes. Auto aiming does not always properly align with enemies on the vertical axis, making you waste shots. This also affects close ranged attacks like Berserk Pack punches, where it seems that you have to be at least a 90-degree angle with the target before punching him, otherwise it feels like you're missing. The Arachnotron is the most infuriating enemy to get hits on with the Berserk Pack because of his wonky hitbox around the legs. While the player movement feels a little bit more weighty in PlayStation Doom compared to the bouncy smooth feeling of the original, there's also the problem with how the engine handles friction with walls, making it feel like you're always caught up in something. I don't know if the hitbox for the player is bigger, but it seems that even narrower tunnels are a bit harder to get through, and one notable spot is the secret in Barrels of Fun when you exit the tunnels, where I found it harder to get because of the way the engine handles movement. I don't know if Doom Guy got fat or what, but he seems to have no problem squeezing around the marble wall in the red maze of map 46, the courtyard. This version of Doom is also the first time I saw the game crash because of the memory or video memory of the PlayStation 1. If a scene gets too crowded, the game will crash with a texture cache overflow screen requiring you to restart the console. If you're playing it on an emulator using save states, it's probably not a big deal, but if you play it on actual hardware or even in an emulator and want to play it legit without saves coming, it can be rather infuriating having to restart a level just because it crashed. Thankfully, a lot of the levels aren't too long, and the more you play Doom levels, the better you get at them and the faster you can finish them. But a way to combat this possibly annoying crash is to fight for your frame cap. Take on a smaller group of enemies, try to use less effects based weapons like the plasma rifle or the BFG, and try luring them into areas where the engine has to render less of the map. I've only encountered this bug on 3 occasions when enemy density is so high it lowers the frame rate. These are Sever the Wicked, right at the start, Suburbs, after you pick up the blue key, the courtyard when all of the enemies are running around the courtyard from the hidden vantage point. There might be more situations where this can happen, but these were the ones I personally encountered. Alongside stress induced crashes, there are also bugs that prevent you from getting 100% secret completion because either paths to secrets, like the ones in Map 20 Unholy Cathedral, can't be accessed, or some tags required to 100% don't register properly. This also goes for enemies as well. In some levels, certain enemies are stuck in walls or on platforms that can be reached normally, preventing you from actually achieving 100%. In some levels, like Command Control, where on Ultraviolence you'd get two Barons attacking you from the lowering pillars, only one pillar lowers and the other one stays stuck with the Baron on top. You can still technically kill him if you shoot near the pillar, but you can still exceed the 100% by just letting lost souls get spawned by pain elementals. And this also applies to item 100% achievements, even though most consider them redundant. On the bright side, none of these 100% achievements actually help you with anything other than bragging rights, and the secrets that are worth a damn work just fine, with especially the secrets leading to secret levels not being affected. All of the enemies from the DOS games are here except for the Archvile and the Icon of Sin if you want to consider him an enemy. I feel that the Archvile could have stayed if they reworked the animations and only allowed a few enemy revives. The only replacement, in quotations, was the Nightmare Spectre, which is a redundant, beefier version of the original Spectre, as if the game needed another bullet launcher that serves the same purpose. The other change was to the Revenant, which was a fast, dangerous enemy that demanded respect in the original. Seriously, Revenants are such memes that Revenant maps are a genre by themselves. But now he's a geriatric mummy with equally lethargic rockets. At least in the case of the cut levels, some changes were made for the better of the console experience, and the cuts made way for new content. This version uses passwords to save progress. At the end of each map, you do get a password that records your inventory and status at the end of the level. You need to write this down and input it at the password screen accessed from the options menu. It's inconvenient, especially when you want to play with pistol starts, since you have to input every password for every level every time. It's a decent alternative if you don't have a memory card, but no support for those who owned one is kinda dumb considering Kingsfield 1 in Japan almost a year prior supported the memory card. There is also a console exclusive X-ray cheat that acts like a wall hack to give you an advantage over your enemies before entering a room, but I found it useless. Small additions to this version are also two small bits of dialogue that are said at the end of the Doom 1 and Doom 2 that have kind of funny cheesy voice acting. PlayStation Doom does feature a co-op mode on all levels for 2 players and a deathmatch mode with the use of the link cable. A split screen feature would have helped it a lot more than the link cable, to be honest. With the link cable you need 2 copies of the game, 2 PlayStations and 2 TVs to have it all work. I can't speak too much about this aspect of the game since I have no experience with it in this version. My multiplayer Doom experience is solely related with the PC. Reviews of the time are kinda weird, like Gaming Playground giving a 100%, calling it a Doom clone. What? Video Games and Computer Entertainment giving it also a 100% and outright lying about how there are also 3 new weapons to choose from, but you'll have to search for them. Again, what? One review by GameFan, also with an over-the-top huge rating of 96%, did make an observation of the lack of features to play custom mods for Doom. I'm glad to see Doom mods were really popular even back then. Computer and video games, man, these publications are really creative with their names, aren't they? Did mention the lack of a proper memory card based save system. Absolute PlayStation praises the playability and calls it even better than the PC. Now, hold up, buddy, and put out the scotch, okay? Though the reviewer does mention that the music wasn't as good as on the PC, which I do agree. Even the 7 out of 10 masters at IGN lied about the high frame rate in their review, which makes me wonder what kind of Radio Shack machines from 1985 were they using to run Doom on? Or did they only play the 1 frame per hour miracle that is the 3DO version of Doom? And with that, we've reached the end of my first review. I hope this video wasn't too disjointed or badly structured. It's my first video of its kind and I'm learning from the ground up all by myself. Please consider leaving a comment with your thoughts regarding the game, my opinions, observations, or whatever. Thanks for watching.